So, kind of an interesting question. Who is the better quarterback, Stetson Bennett or Spencer Rattler? Let's talk about that for a little bit because there's this is something that was talked about on I think somewhere online. Now I'm not sure. And then I saw it on Paul Feinbaum's show on the SEC network, and it got me to wondering. I think everybody would take Bryce Young, but then after that, I think folks would probably immediately take Spencer Rattler, and I'm not as sure. I'm not as sure. When you take a look at things, um, this past season, I don't think there's any question that Stetson Bennett had the better year. I mean, Spencer Rattler was benched after whatever it was, a quarter and a half against Texas, and yeah, against Texas, and then kind of disappeared after that. Had about 20 throws. Well, let's see, yeah, 27 throws the rest of the way after that. Stetson didn't play much until really he played the UAB game, obviously starting that game, but it was really from the Vanderbilt second quarter on for the rest of the year that Stetson was Georgia's primary quarterback. Make sure that when y'all are watching this, but make sure you're getting DAWGSTRUCTION. It's right down below. I'm going to roll some images over the top here. I'm not going to be lazy. I'm actually going to show y'all what we're doing, and you can, excuse me, take a look at what we've got headed your way when you order that book. It'll get to y'all in late February, early March. So make sure that you're ordering that. It's right down below. Um, Obviously, you're not going to take away Stetson's national championship from him, but uh, and this happens with all quarterbacks, but uh, like Rattler had a lot of really good yardage performances at times in 2020, particularly. Um, but I think the issue for him, really more than anything, was that it kind of in bigger moments, he just didn't play well. I mean, there were just too many interceptions when it mattered. I don't know if you recall the Texas game in 2020, but I believe he got sidelined in that game too, only to come back and for them to win it in four overtimes. I mean, had they lost that game, Oklahoma would have been 1-3. And this past year, obviously getting benched against Texas, he had an interception. I mean, halfway through the season, if you take out the Western Carolina game, he had five interceptions and six touchdowns. No, five touchdowns through the Texas game. So it was five touchdowns, five interceptions. I mean, we've seen Stetson for a while now. And Stetson's been around since 2017. The first game he played in was the Murray State game. That was an interception in that game. And the in 2020, a season ago, he had eight touchdowns and six interceptions. He got benched. I mean, you can't turn it over that. You can turn it over six times, seven times, 11 times in a season. It's not ideal. You can do that, but you'd better have a bunch of touchdowns. And you saw why Stetson got benched, and you saw why Spencer Rattler got benched. 5-5, that's just not good enough. No one cares what anybody does against Western Carolina. So, um, the way Stetson played against Florida, if he had kept that up, he'd have got benched. I mean, one touchdown, two interceptions. Anyway, I'm kind of focusing on the negative there. Who would you rather have moving forward? Would you rather have Spencer Rattler or Stetson Bennett? Because honestly, they're not so far off from being similar quarterbacks. They both have the capability to run. Obviously, they both can throw it. And when you just look at everything in totality, um, I'm not so certain it's a slam dunk that you take Spencer Rattler. I'm not. And we've never seen Spencer Rattler play the way Stetson has in the big moments. And when I say big moments, I mean the last two games Georgia played. The three touchdown, no interception performance against Michigan, and then the two touchdown, one fumble performance against Alabama from Stetson. 313 yards against Michigan for Stetson, 340 yards against Alabama. That's asking too much of Stetson. I think the sweet spot for Stetson is about 220 to 270 yards. It shows that you're in total control when you're doing that. The sweet spot for Spencer Rattler, not knowing that as well, um, that's harder to say because he throws a lot and doesn't get 300 yards. Like for instance, against Kansas State, West Virginia, Nebraska, even Western Carolina. Those were all games where he threw for 26 balls or more, 25 balls or more, and didn't get 300, passing yards. Stetson throwing for over 25. He's done that 3 times in his career, and all but all but a couple of them were under 250 yards. That's not Stetson's game either. I mean, so I think it's a curious conversation. I mean, we know Stetson is a proven commodity now. We know what he is. There's going to be a slew of comments below about, like making fun of Stetson or what. I don't know what people want. I mean, there's just sort of a group of people who are just have made up their mind that they are anti Stetson Bennett, and that's just what it is, and that's fine. I mean, whatever. You look like morons though right now. I mean, if the time to be critical of Stetson Bennett was after the Alabama game, and he got plenty of criticism after that game. The problem with critics for Stetson is he shoved it right back down their throat 6 weeks later with the way he played against Alabama in the championship game. 17 to 26, 224, 2 touchdowns, the 52-yard bomb to, I think that was A.D. Mitchell. Um, and then just generally speaking, the run game, um, he was very good against Alabama. Um, but, you just kind of can't win. The same way it feels like at Oklahoma, Spencer Rattler he couldn't win with the fans. And that's okay though. I mean, it's what it is, you know, it's what it is. But if I were picking a team moving forward, it'd be hard not to take Spencer Rattler. The problem with Spencer Rattler is that he doesn't always perform when you need him to. You could have said that with Stetson, but the problem with that criticism of Stetson is it really probably wasn't true completely all the time. I mean, let's talk about it for a second here too. Auburn last in 2020, that's a top 10 Auburn team. People forget that. He plays a great game against Auburn. Tennessee, 14, Tennessee comes in, plays well. Now, not as well as he did against Auburn. Then he plays against Alabama, does not play well. The game against Florida, he was playing pretty well until he broke his whatever happened there. I mean, so that was not good. And then this season, the win over top 10 Arkansas, Auburn on the road. I mean, I don't think Auburn wants to see that guy again. And then he played really well against Kentucky, too, who was a top 11 team coming in that game and finished top 14 or whatever it was. Obviously, did not play well against Alabama. I mean, he's like, by my math, let's see, 2, 5. He is 7-2 against ranked teams. That's pretty good. I mean, he's 2-2, no 3-2 against, no 4-2 against top 10 teams. Stetson Bennett, and I just go back and look at Spencer's numbers as a starter. He did not play against a ranked team in 21. In 20, they beat Florida, who was ranked number 7, which is total bullshit. But okay, 1, 2, 3, 4-0 against ranked teams. 2-0 against top 10 teams. It's amazing Spencer Rattler didn't play as a starter at Oklahoma in more ranked games than that. I mean, that's kind of interesting. But I saw that, and I want to hear what you have to say in the comments section. You tell me, which one would you take? And while you're down there and scrolling right past the link, make sure to click DAWGSTRUCTION. Get the order in today so we can get it to you in late February and early March. We'll see you over on the website.